Welcome back, everyone. Snappin Around, Season 3, our second episode. We got predictions heading your way this episode with the Eastern Conference standings, along with some trophy predictions. Going to go through the Jack Adams, Selke, Rocket, Art, Hart, Vesna, Calder, and the Norris. We did this last year, and guys, we got it horribly wrong, I think. Let's maybe see if we can do better this year.
As expected.
I don't think. I mean, didn't all of us call the Flyers in the basement last year, and them alone made us look bad?
Yeah.
But
I think I said Arizona was making the playoffs last year. That panned out well.
I think I had St. Louis.
Yeah.
But no, that's why we get to do these episodes. See how wrong we are at the end of the season of just when we think we actually know what's going on in the NHL. So start off, boys, with just some trophy predictions. Maybe one of the easiest or one of the hardest trophies to predict, I would say, in the Jack Adams. Trav, I'll let you take the first swing here. Like, who you guys your Jack Adams winner this year?
Yeah, this was a bit of a tough one. I had a couple guys in mind, and then like obviously there's some teams that I expect to do well this year. But it's not so much of the coaching, but more over just the team that's put together. But I ended up going with Craig Berube in Toronto. I think he's going to bring a bit of a different system to that Leafs team this year, and he's going to, at least through the regular season, I think he's going to have them looking pretty shaped up. But I mean, once again, as we do every year, the biggest question is the playoffs and what are they going to do come that time. Between now and April, I mean, obviously it does matter, but at the same time, it doesn't. So Craig Berube, though, new coach in Toronto this year, and I think he's going to be certainly up there for the Jack Adams, and he's my pick. So,
yeah, it's an award that always helps when you have a strong team playing for you too. So, Justin, who you got for your coach of the year?
Yeah, this kind of intertwines with Trav's, but it was kind of hard because I kind of always look for a team that's going to make a big jump. And I think, looking at the standings last year and to kind of teams that I've predicted doing a lot better is New Jersey. So I'm going to go with Keefe in New Jersey. I think they have a pretty good shot. I'm not going to say too much about them, but I think they've improved where they lacked last year in defense and goaltending. And I think with the amount that I think they'll be more towards what they were, in 2023, like the end of 2023, I think they'll be closer to that. So I think with that jump, that kind of gives him a good shot to be in the running for this.
Yeah, I mean, when we get to our standing predictions, I have New Jersey climbing up pretty high. So I think sticking in the East for the Jack Adams for myself, I think kind of going a little more old school with how the trophy's been handed out. I think Lindy Ruff in Buffalo takes it. I think he's able to get that roster over the hump into the playoffs. And with that, that's going to get him that. We've seen that those teams that kind of just come out of nowhere tends to be the coach that gets the Jack Adams 9 times out of 10. So I got Ruffer winning the Jack Adams for myself.
interesting pick.
Wow.
Okay. Hey, I had faith in Levi last year as my Calder pick and that, so might as well stick with Buffalo. They're eventually going to do something.
They have to.
Oh, they're going to have to, or they're going to blow it up again.
That's it been 14 years since the playoffs?
Yeah, something like that, but we can get into more depth than that a little later in the show here. So originally slated in this spot, we were going to give our President's Trophy picks, but Trav smartly pointed out that I wasn't thinking, and that kind of doesn't make sense when we aren't doing the Western Conference this week. So we're going to pivot for that. And Trav's going to give us a Selke pick. Justin will give us a Rocket Richard pick, and I'll give it an Art Ross pick. And I mean, these are kind of some of the bigger trophies, just maybe not always the most easiest to pick because they're a lot more streamlined almost with who tends to win them for the most part. But Trav, if you want to go ahead with the Selke, who do you got this year for defensive forward of the year?
Another one that was a bit of a tough pick. I had a couple guys on my bingo card, but I think pending that he stays healthy, I think Nico Hischier is going to finally get his first Selke this year. He's been knocking on the door of it the last couple of years, but I'm expecting the same group of guys to be up there again. Andrzej Kopitar, Alex Barkov, Jordan Stahl, Matthews, Crosby, I think is a bit of a deep cut in that mix. But I do think the Devils forward in Nico Hischier is going to find his way to the top there with his defensive game this year.
He's got a big hill to climb trying to beat out Barkov for that spot. I mean,
big time. Yeah, I almost picked Barkov, but I don't know. I'm just leaning a little towards Hischier for some reason this year.
He'd be in my top 3 for sure in that trophy category. So, Justin, goal scorer of the year. Does anyone dethrone Matthews, or is he going to go off again?
I mean, he probably will. But I didn't really want to take the easy pick here because I think Matthews is kind of the easy pick. And maybe this isn't that far off of that, but I kind of want to see Pasternak take it this year. He kind of dropped last year. He went from 61 goals to, I think, 47, but I think he could reach 60 again. And I mean, Matthews getting under 60 seems kind of odd right now, but I'm gonna go Pasta. I like to see him take it this year.
Yeah, no argument on that one. He's a premier player in the league, but like you said, it's hard to see Matthews getting under 60 goals. Art Ross, top point getter. I might be going a little off the board with this, almost because I want to do what you just said, Justin, and not take the easy road on this. I'm gonna take a swing and say Jack Hughes wins the Art Ross. I think this is he's kind of had a breakout year, but this is his true breakout into that franchise elite star player status that he's shown over the past few years. He's going to have a full 82 game season, fully healthy, and just the team around him and the style Keefe wants to play. Jack Hughes is going to go off and get about close to 140, maybe even 150 points.
I like that. I just want to see him stay healthy all year.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah, let's not forget too, like, I mean, he was absolutely lighting it up at the start of last season. And like you said there, JC, he had an injury and he could have been fighting for the Art Ross last year too if he had kept on that pace he had right at the start of the year.
Yeah, he was going at 2 points a game, 2.5 points a game for the first 10 or 15 games.
Yeah. Something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was unreal what he was doing early on. But so that's our the first segment of awards here, boys. Done. Kind of want to pivot into current news right now. The preseason going on. So unfortunate news though across the preseason is injuries. We've seen Doughty go down. His was more a bit of a fluke, kind of just how he fell into the boards. The big one that's gotten a lot of attention in Canada here is the Cedric Paré hit on Patrick Laine, the knee-on-knee hit. And this is just, I don't know what you guys want to call it. I'm surprised the league didn't do anything to Paré. I'm surprised there wasn't even a penalty on the play. But this more begs the question for myself. I want your guys' opinion is how how much pressure are teams under to play like their top guys in earlier preseason games? Like, why are teams putting a guy like Line, guys like we've seen Matthews and Tavares have bumps and bruises, Nylander early on? Why are these top star players playing in the first handful of preseason games?
Well, that was the key word. There was the first handful that you said, Brock. That's the part that I'm, don't exactly agree with. Is why are these guys playing early on in the preseason? I think keeping them out entirely, I don't think does any good, because I think you want your star guys to have a tune-up game or two. So the last 2 to 3 games, you slide them in for 1 to 2 or whatever, and get their game feed under them in time to go for the regular season. But I mean, like we just broke the surface of preseason there last week, and there's lots of star players already in the mix. I have a tough time wrapping my head around that. But I certainly understand, later in the preseason, right before the regular season. The only other real one that I kind of make sense of is a situation like the what do you want to call it, the global series, or like Buffalo went to Germany there to play. I think, was it Munich or I forget what team it was, but I can understand your star players playing in that. That's a bit of a special kind of deal, especially like JJ Peterka is obviously from Germany, so for him to play in that game, I know that's a big deal for him. But I mean, other than that, like, why is Line playing in that Saturday night game against the Leafs in early preseason, when the two teams meet on night one of the regular season? I don't know. That's my take on the whole dilemma anyways.
Well, like, to that, Trav, you look at the Avs and what they've done so far. Tonight's their first preseason game where they're dressing anyone over their regular third line player. Like McKinnon, McCarr, and all of them. Like, even on defense, no one's really played anything. Like, I saw Colton Wood and O'Connor in last game there. It's mostly been the fringe guys that have played for the Avs early on, which honestly, I think that's the way to go. Like you kind of said, they only need a game or two, because the first week or two of the regular season is essentially your NHL regulars preseason, because it takes that long for just the coaches to fully get a system in and for players to fully get comfortable with the true game speed of the NHL again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just want to try to pull this up here. This is, for everyone listening, this is going to be bad, but I'm going to try something. All right, never mind. I had some screenshots of the Line Pare hit there. I was gonna try to bring them up and we can dissect them, but I think at this time most people have seen it. Just Justin, what did you see on that play? Like, is it one of those where Line's shifting last second, trying to split between two Toronto guys and more incidental, or was it more? Because I know my view was Pare should have never really even attempted the hit based on his angling. But what's your side of that?
The way I saw it is Pare was going to get beat, and he kind of stuck his leg out to stop Line, and I mean, it's kind of tough because this guy's trying to. I don't think he's trying to make the NHL team, but most likely the AHL team, and you don't really want to get beat and let a guy get around you without getting anything on him. But at the same time, I think you kind of got to be aware of what you're doing, and it was, to me, it pretty much looked like a blatant knee on knee and of a guy that just got beat, a defenseman, right? And then afterwards not being prepared to fight after, to me, kind of like intentionally kind of injuring. Maybe he probably didn't try to intentionally injure Line, but just the way he kind of stuck out his knee, like most things don't really end up good after that. But he's got to know this guy's played hockey long enough. He's got to know who's out there, and the fact, it wasn't like Jack Guy completely just jumped him. He gave him a couple whacks, probably told him, he's just like, hey, if you're not going to do this, I'm going to just pound the shit out of you anyways. And the Twitter and with social media has been kind of these two fan bases going at each other, and I don't know. I didn't really see anything wrong with what Jack Guy did. He's doing his job. Pare's got to be ready for it, but I think it was kind of a dirty knee, and unfortunately now Line A, it was just announced that he's out 2 to 3 months because of it, and it kind of sucks for a guy that hasn't really been able to stay in the lineup due to a lot of reasons, and was kind of hoping he'd be able to get a new start here, but it's not really off to a great start for him.
No, the whole thing with this is just the fact Line is missing like the first third of the season or more with this injury. And like you said, Pares might just sniff the American League this year, but to our Jack Guy incident with him later, like you said, Jack Guy gave him a few chances to actually like square up with him. He told him straight up, we're going. And it's not like he did it right away. Gave him lots of chances. And a lot of Leaf fans making this out to be the Bertuzzi Moore incident. It's not even close. Like Jack Guy goes, his first shot's just to the back of the head, more of like kind of that, almost like a similar like face wash there you kind of give a guy when they're facing you. Like it wasn't anything malicious or anything on the back. And then obviously he just kept going at him. But Jack Guy's trying to get his pound of flesh for what happened. And it's the onus is on Pare to just be aware that, yeah, I did that. The refs didn't do anything about it. So now you have to know that someone on the Montreal team is going to, especially when Jack Guy was in the game. So it's, like you said, though, it is one, like the fan bases, they're getting into mid-season form, going at each other. And I don't know, it's almost just one where just an unfortunate series of events that I think could have been prevented, especially like the Jack Guy stuff, because all the refs have to do is call a 5-minute major, kick Pare out of the game, and that's that. There's nothing else come of that. So I don't like, you guys got anything else to add on preseason like injuries and like how teams kind of deploy players throughout the preseason, just in any way, shape, or form?
I mean, I just think nowadays these guys are such good conditions. They pretty much practice all year round. Like they might take a few weeks off. I don't even really know how much these guys really need to play in these preseason games. Like they get enough training in the summer, like training camp practices with like the guys. Like preseason, I think is already too long as it is. Like you see, like the NFL, like those guys play like a snap or two, and like the main guys, and then they're done. I don't really know. I don't really see how it should be much different for these guys. Like, or maybe you kind of have like an agreement with the other team, like, hey, I'm playing, third, fourth line AHL guys, and then you have a game where it's like we got to put most of our top dogs in, and you kind of do it that way because most of those guys will know what kind of speed to go at that. Like, I don't know if that prevents any of this because sometimes they're just freak accidents, like Doughty kind of was. But other than that, I don't really know how you kind of fix this sort of deal. I don't really know. These guys really need 6 games to get ready. Like like guys like McKinnon or McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews probably only need 1, if that, to be ready for opening night.
I think a lot of it comes down to just the owners want to use the preseason because it's still a money grab for them. And for the most part, they make tickets cheaper and try to get like a lot of the more true hardcore fans go out to those. So maybe like there is pressure on some markets like Toronto where not every fan's able to go to even a game per year. Mm-hmm. So when the tickets are half the price in preseason, it's more like, yeah, let's go watch Matthews. But, oh, wait, he's not playing because Like, I get that point of view from some teams and owners. Like, it is a money thing. But like you said, Justin, it's also you don't need 6. You need 4. Like, give your AHL guys, your kind of bubble guys, 2 games. Give the third game is kind of when you start mixing and matching in with your NHL regulars. And the fourth game is essentially what your opening lineup's going to be or close to it. Like, you don't need to just keep playing these guys 6 games, 7 games, 8 games, even across 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because that just leads to injuries for any player, whether they're in the American League or in the NHL.
Season's long enough as it is with 82 games. Like,
oh, it's so long. And they're adding, like, the fact you basically play almost 90 games before you even reach the playoffs. And then you're playing on top of that an extra 28 possible.
Yeah, usually, the Cup winners are probably playing 22 to 25 usually.
Looking at 110 games at that point, like,
yeah, it's just, and we wonder why, like, and how many guys play through injuries too. Like,
every year, there's a long list of the 2 finalists. Almost half their team half the team that they're icing has got some sort of nagging injury.
Yep, like that's what I mean. Jeff Merrick always said it on 32 Thoughts there in previous years when you listen to him, that the first round of playoffs is always the best because that's when teams are healthiest. Might not always be the best teams against the best teams, but that's the best quality of hockey. So we'll move on from that. I just wanted to get your guys' opinions on the whole preseason thing and just how just the injuries we've seen this year just seems a little redundant to be rolling star guys out. But jump back into our predictions. We got the Norris and the Vezina lined up here next. Justin, I'll let you go first. Who do you got taking home the Norris after Quinn Hughes took it home last year?
I'm going back to our guy Makar to take it this year. I think he was pretty close at getting it last year, but like Quinn Hughes had a pretty unbelievable season. Makar really wasn't himself for a bit. I think he was injured at the start of the year and was kind of off and on all year. I think if he has a healthy season, I really don't think that there's another player or another defenseman in this league that really touches him. I think he's kind of in his own tier. And then, you have your Fox, Yossi, Hughes kind of below that Heiskanen too. I don't really want to leave him out, but I just think with, how well Makar plays defensively and the points that he puts up, if he kind of stays healthy this year, I really don't see another guy that should beat him unless one of these guys just has like an extraordinary year, kind of like what Hughes had last year.
Yeah. I mean, everyone said that Makar had a down year last year and he still put up the points he did. So
yeah,
he's otherworldly. But Trav, you doubling down on Makar, or you got someone else winning the Norris?
No, I'm doubling down. Same as last year. Picking Makar to win the Norris. And basically for a lot of the same points that JC said, I think unless somebody has an over-the-top year, similar to what Quinn Hughes did last year, I think it's Makar's this year. But I will say I get the feeling that he's not going to win it by a landslide. I think and I think there's going to be multiple guys up there that and when I say multiple guys, I'm talking like Hughes, Heiskanen, and Yossi. I think those 4 guys are all going to have big years here, especially Yossi with Nashville making the offseason moves that they did. Him having some offensive help, I think, is going to change his game a little bit too. So, but I do think at the end of the day, I think we're going to see Mr. Makar get his second Norris Trophy.
It's a clean sweep for Kale, then I have him winning it again for his second, like you said, Trav. But also, like, I agree with you, Trav. It's going to be close. Two names I want to throw into that group is Bouchard and Noah Dobson. I think Bouchard's playoffs has really had him come out as a top tier offensive defenseman. So he'll be in a lot of people's conversations. And Noah Dobson, I think, is such a dark horse for the Norris every year now because he's just that steady. He's a guy that's going to probably reach 80 points one of these years, but he's still such a steady presence defensively. But ultimately, I think Makar is going to come back fully healthy year, similar to Jack Hughes, just blow away in terms of winning the Art Ross. Makar is just going to come in and put up a 100-point season from the blue line. So he gets his second Norris.
Dobson had an unbelievable year last year, and nobody talked about it. Nobody.
No, I think I heard his name like 3 times across the whole year in any hockey podcast or anything.
Yeah, 100%. Nobody talked about it.
I think Darlene's going to have a big year too. Recently named captain. He's primed to really just step into and start reaching that echelon of defenseman there.
Yeah.
But Justin, we saw Hellebuck win the Norris last year and then completely get shellacked in the playoffs. So, or not the Norris, the Vezina. Is Hellebuck going to repeat and just have another dominant regular season, dragging the Jets to the playoffs and fizzle out again? Or you got another Tendy taking home the crown?
I have another Tendy. I think he'll have another good year. He usually does, but I don't think that playoff. I don't think the playoff woes from last year will really fall him into this year. He had it wasn't really that he didn't have any answers. His team didn't really have any answers for the Avs in that first round, and there wasn't really going to be a goalie in that first round probably that would have had any better luck. But I think the trophy's going to go back to New York, and I think Shesterkin's going to have a year, especially with his contract kind of situation. I think he's due after this year, and there's been a lot of talks of how much he's going to actually get paid and how he will likely be the highest paid goalie going into the 25-26 season. I think the Rangers are this is kind of their one last push with this roster group that they've got because of this and the fact that, they tried to trade their captain. So I think there's going to be a special year for him this year. He's going to get the majority of playing time there too, because with Jonathan Quick not really getting any younger. So I think I like his odds to take the trophy back this year. I was looking at odds for this trophy, and do you want to know who has the best odds right now?
Yes, Hellebuck.
Swayman. I don't know how many starts you need to win that trophy, but I don't think he's going to hit it. But no, I like Shesterkin this year. I don't know. He's just the one that stuck out to me, and I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. He was just kind of like my first pick, and I think he takes it.
Yeah.
Swayman wins the Vezina playing in the KHL half the year.
Fuck though, your odds took my little bit away. I was gonna come out and say the Vezina's going to Swayman in Boston, and then realize, oh shit, no, it can't. He doesn't have a contract yet.
Yeah,
but no, Shesterkin's probably a really safe bet on that. Like you said, contract year for him coming up. So, all right, Trav, who you got as the top attendee in the league this year?
Well, I kind of thought we were all going to go separate ways here just because it was not as clear cut, but I'm doubling down on Shesterkin here. That was my pick. And for a lot of the same reasons, once again, that JC said, I think New York's kind of got one last kick at the can with this core group here. Just coming off the end to his season last year, did everything he could to try and get New York to the Cup final and damn near did until Florida kind of just got a grip on that series there. But they were definitely on their heels through the first part of that series, in large part due to Shesterkin. So I think he just rides that high that he left on last year, and just takes it all the way to a Vezina trophy this year. I think this one I don't see being close either. I think New York's going to have another big year this year, and I think Shesterkin's just going to be a large part of, or a very large part of the success that they have this year. So doubling down, and Shesterkin's my Vezina pick as well.
It's not a clean sweep for this one. I'm going sticking in Russia, but I'm going Vasilevsky. I think he's gonna, after his year, he was off. He still got Tampa to the playoffs. They still looked somewhat dangerous. Not really, but I think he had a nice long summer to heal up fully, and he's going to come back and want to prove something this year. I think he drags this Tampa roster. They're going to get just enough offense from guys like Getzel and Kucherov and Point, and ultimately it's just going to be Vasilevsky dragging Tampa into the playoffs again, and they're just going to ride him as he's going to put up either a career year or close to it. But I think Shesterkin's going to be right on his heels the whole year as well, though. So that kind of breaks down the Vezina trophy there. So we got the Hart and the Calder coming up later in the episode. Boys, time to get into some standings predictions. We got start off here with the Atlantic Division. Trav, I'll let you take first swing here. How do you see the Atlantic shaking down this season?
Probably the toughest division of the four for me to rank, just because I think right now it's the clear-cut best division in hockey. Obviously some of the teams down near the bottom aren't, by any means contenders, but I think everybody in this division has something to prove this year. I don't think there's any glorified basement dwellers in this division. That being said, my number one team, which kind of goes hand in hand with who I picked for my Jack Adams, I think the Leafs come out on top of this division this year, and that's why I have Berube as the Jack Adams winner. I think, like I said, I think he brings them into a new form, a new shape this year. And I'm not talking playoffs right now. That's a whole different question, but I'm talking regular season. I think they just look like a more well-structured team that can really go toe-to-toe with the rest of the big dogs in the league. So I have them finishing atop the standings, or atop the Atlantic standings, excuse me. Number two, the defending Cup champs, the Florida Panthers. They brought back their whole core from last year. Obviously, they did lose a number of their depth pieces, and I think losing Montour and Ekman Larson on the back end will take a bit of a hit significantly, but not so much as to put them in a position where they're desperately fighting for a playoff spot. I think they comfortably get in there. Their star players are going to keep rolling. Bob's going to keep rolling. And they're going to be another tough out again this year. So I see them getting back in at number two in the Atlantic. Number three, and I originally had these guys flip-flopped with the Panthers. I have the Bruins at number three. I think one thing I learned about the Bruins from last year was that I doubted the culture in that room. I thought them losing Bergeron and losing Krejci from that record season from the year before. I thought that would take a big hit on them, but I think Brad Marchand has done a really good job as captain of that team. In terms of off ice, anyways, I think he's done fairly good on ice as well. But I think that's a large part of why they have success year after year is that culture that Bergeron and Chara that was passed down to Marchand have created. And despite all the the bullshit with Jeremy Swayman right now, I think they find a way past that and they get themselves in with another rematch against the Panthers, which is just bound to be a bloodbath if that happens this year. Number 4, and I'm gonna say this is my first wild card team. The Detroit Red Wings, I think, finally make their move and get in this year. Just a couple little tweaks in the offseason. They were right there last year. I think they're able to climb their way in this year with the tweaks that they made and a couple other younger guys coming into their own now. Number 5, I got the Lightning. I think they slip and fall a little bit from last year. I think their top guys still have their normal output. Their Kucherov point. I think Gensel will be great for them. Edmund should be good, but I think the losses of Sergachev and Stamkos will hit them big time, especially Stamkos on the power play. I just see with the depth that they have, I think they find themselves struggling all year long, struggling to build momentum as a team. I think they're just fighting the up and down all year, and I think they just fall short of the playoffs this year. Number 6, I got the Sabres. Sorry, Sabres fans. This will be year 15 that you don't make the playoffs or whatever we're at now. I don't know, but
it's long.
Another. Let me put it this way: another disappointing November. As they seem to every year, they're going to come out the gate looking hot, and they're going to just go on an absolute garbage run in November, like they have for probably the last half decade. And it's going to cost them later on in the season, and they're not going to make it into the dance. Number 7, I got the Habs. I'm really excited about the Habs this year, but I just think in that division, as tough as it is, unfortunately for them, they don't finish any higher. That's still a team that's got a lot of growth. Obviously now without Line for 2 to 3 months. But I am excited to watch some Habs games this year. There's a lot of good pieces on that team, and they're just not there right now. And number 8, and another wildly disappointing season, I got the Sens. I don't know, man. I just I thought about putting them up there, and I just after last season, I was I've just grown extremely doubtful of that team. And though that I think they've made a few changes in the offseason, I just don't think it's gonna make a whole world of difference. Not in that division. Maybe in the Metro, a different story, but not in the Atlantic. So I have them in the basement of the Atlantic this year.
All right. I mean, it's pretty, like you said, it's probably the toughest division to call in hockey. So, Justin, what's your Atlantic look like?
Oh, a little bit different than that, but I agree with Trav and you, Brock, that this was not easy. For me, the top 3 teams I think are easier to predict than I would say the bottom 5, just because you're waiting for a couple of these teams to make a jump. But then the last I think 24 to 36 hours really changed my predictions here, because I did have Boston 1 in this group.
Oh wow!
They did have Swayman and Korpisalo, and I'll get to them why I think I had them so high when I get to them. But I have Florida 1. I had them 2 before this, obviously, but this one's tough for me. But I don't see Toronto. I don't trust Toronto to outscore enough for them to take the division. I do think Berube will have them playing a little bit tighter. I'm concerned about their Toronto's goaltending with Wall and Stolarz. I don't know if Wall can stay healthy enough to be kind of that guy. He doesn't have to be with Stolarz, but again, even with Stolars, like, are either of these guys like 40-game guys in the NHL? Um, I'm not sure. Like I said, they got a good enough team in front of them to outscore them. They improved their defense enough, I think, but I still don't like the offensive part of their defense past Morgan Riley. So, and then Florida, I'm interested to see Knight get back the NHL since he's now their backup. He'll definitely be getting a lot of playing time to keep Bob fresh, I think, right? Um, their forward core is stacked. Their defense is a little bit, big losses with Montour and Ekman Larson, like Trav said. But I'm interested to see if Adam Boquist can finally kind of break out here. Um, I've heard rumblings that he looks really, really good early on in like training camp and practices. So I still like them to kind of bully their way to the division. Um, then we go to Boston. The reason I like them so much and had them at the top is because I like what they did in the offseason, getting Lindholm. He's not the biggest point producing 1C in the league, but it pushes everybody kind of else back down to where they should be, as in Zaka and Coyle. Lindholm's going to have an unreal winger in either Pasternak or Marchand, and then I don't know, Coyle or Zaka will get the other one. I like their top four defense in McAvoy, Zadorov, Lindholm, and Carlo. And interested to see if Lohrei can kind of keep it going from the playoffs because I thought he really stood out. But after this whole Swayman thing and not knowing if he's going to be back, the Corpusalo, probably Bussi tandem, we'll see. I think Corpusalo is a lot better than he was in Ottawa, and he's going to have a lot more of a structured team in front of him. Is he going to be a 920 save percentage goalie? I'm not sure. He's really only ever been that like once in his career consistently. So those are my top three. Four, I have Tampa. Regardless of kind of all the changes that have gone on, I still like their team. Their top six forwards are good enough. I think the top line of Jensel, Point, and Kucherov are going to absolutely light it up. I think Jensel is going to have an unreal year scoring goals. Their defense is pretty much the same. They swapped out Sergachev for Moser. We don't really know what Sergachev's going to be like after his leg injury. And Moser is always really good in Arizona, so it'd be nice to see him in a new spot. And you have a healthy Vasi. Like you said, Brock, you have him as your Vezina guy. And you always say, like, to be a fool to bet against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I can't really have them out of the playoffs. So I have them at 4 in this division. And 5, I have Trav's bottom feeders in the Sens. This one was tough. I had them flip-flop with Detroit. I was kind of going back and forth, but you know what? I finally said, yeah, I think this is probably the time that if they're going to do it, it's probably going to be this year. All their guys are a bit like, Kachuk's 1 year older, Pinto, if Norris stays healthy, Batherson, all these guys have enough experience in the league that it's kind of time for them to show it. I like their addition in Perron. And then they got a rat and Cousins to kind of like get in their bottom six. I don't ever think Chikrin was a fit, so I'm not overly lost, or I'm not overly concerned about that loss. And they got a better they got a decent defenseman backing them. But Sanderson's another year older. We'll see if Shabbat can kind of regain his form. But and I actually do have them. They're going to be the eighth. They're going to be the 8th seed. They'll be. So I got 5 in the Atlantic. Those are my 5. This could be really bad. Following that, obviously, I have Detroit. This one was tough to put them out because they were so close last year, but I also think they were so close because they got kind of out of this world goaltending out of Alex Lyon at the end of last year. I don't see that continuing. Billy Husso, he kind of got overpaid for his little run in St. Louis that he had there. Their defense, I don't really like at all past Seider. I'm interested to see Edvinsson come up this year. I think he's looked really good for the little amount of time he's got, but after that, there's nothing really too special there. I think they'll be fine offensively. I just think with the kind of lack of defense and the goaltending there it doesn't really do much for me. These bottom two, I had a hard time even putting where these two are, but I decided to put Buffalo 7th. I think they're all young guys that are starting to get more time in the league. I think they'll do better than they did last year. I didn't really like that they didn't really do anything in the off season. I was expecting them to kind of make a bigger splash than they did, and they didn't really do any of that. But I just think with their D-core is pretty solid. And I'm hoping Levi can kind of make a bigger step here. It might be tough with Luukkonen kind of getting that big deal. And then I have Montreal. Somebody had to go at the bottom. I think any of those two teams you could kind of flip-flop. They've kind of been off to a rough start here, losing Reinbacher for 6 months, and now Laine. This team could surprise me and kind of be up close to a playoff spot, or they could just bottom out. And right now I have them bottoming out, more so for the reason I just couldn't put them anywhere else.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I think I'll be quick here. You guys hit on a lot of the key points on all those teams. I got Trav. I'm following you with Toronto at 1. And then I do like the number 2 spot. I struggled with quite a bit, flip-flopping between Boston, Florida, and Tampa. I think just to stick with my whole Vasilevsky, Vezina, I think that's going to be Tampa's spot. And then Boston's going to take in that 3. Swayman deals. The Swayman deal is going to get done. Like you said, Justin, Korpisalo is going to be better just playing behind a better structured team in Boston. The shock of these standings is going to be, I don't even have Florida in the playoffs. I think Bobrovsky reverts back to his old ways of having a stellar run and then not showing up at all. And you're eventually going to see Spencer Knight take over the net, but it won't be enough. So I got Detroit 4 and Buffalo 5, both making playoffs. I think just like the goaltending from Detroit, another key thing that they couldn't overcome late was the Dylan Larkin injury. He was out for such a significant time, and Lucas Raymond really carried the offense for that team. Those guys are going to be healthy, and you're going to see Edvinsson take a big step just to form that nice 1-2 punch with Seider on the blue line. And I think it's just, this is going to be the year Detroit finally just breaks the hump and gets this group into the playoffs. And Buffalo, I got to stick with Ruffer for the Jack Adams. I think they didn't do a lot, but he was their big ad. And I just like, kind of like what you guys said with Ottawa at times there, like their young guys are going to just another year older. So 6, I got Florida. Again, they're going to miss, but not by much. 7, I got Ottawa. 8, Montreal. But I think Ottawa, Montreal, like there's maybe a 10-point difference between Montreal and Buffalo for a playoff spot. Like this whole, like the bottom teams in this division are going to be right there in the playoff hunt till about March. I think it's going to be tight and it's going to be competitive. But we'll see. We'll see how wrong we are even come December when half these teams are probably like scraping along at 10 points on the season. So again, it's always fun to do these and look back on them. But final round of predictions coming up here for awards right after some sponsorship reads. Tutty in for 6. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We don't care how they score them. We want to bet on touchdowns, and DraftKings Sportsbook is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick today. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when they bet just $5. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. As kids, we were always curious about everything, but somewhere along the way, that curiosity faded, and you may now feel trapped in a routine. Therapy is a great option to help you rediscover that sense of curiosity. In my experience, therapy provided me the tools for coping with stressful situations and gave me the confidence to setting appropriate boundaries so I can take control of my life. So, if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suit your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. If for some reason you don't connect, you can switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN, and add curiosity back into your life. All right, guys, so we got the Hart Trophy and the Calder Trophy left to predict here. Trav, who's your Hart Trophy winner?
We'll take the easy road here. Connor McDavid on his vengeance tour this year. And a quest for Lord Stanley is the clear-cut art winner.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, I was gonna go the same route as Strab, but I've also had a couple softballs here that I've kind of taken. So, and I had this written down before your prediction of the Art Ross, but I actually had Jack Hughes written as my heart. I kind of wanted to add in someone new or just like a little bit of a different prediction. And like you guys both said earlier, talking about him, he got off pretty hot last year, and if he stayed on that pace, he would have been right in the conversation. So I don't see any reason why, another year of growth, he can't do it. It's just the health. The health is a big question.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm going to go back to our Norris winner in McCart, and I think he's going to do a sweep here with the Norris and Hart. He's just going to have one of those seasons right now because he's going to come in fully healthy. And I think the last two playoff exits by Colorado and just how they've kind of went for Makar himself, even he's going to be kind of like McDavid. He's going to be a man on a mission. And I don't think there's much people in the league that are going to even slow him down. So, Justin, who do you got winning the Calder? Who's your top rookie?
This was the toughest one to pick for me because there's so many to choose from. There's a guy I really wanted to pick here, but in like that Rutger McGroarty, I just don't know if he's on the team yet, or if he's going to be
probably going to be on that Penguins team.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and I was kind of hemming and hawing between kind of him and Stankoven, but I also felt that was kind of an easy pick, so I'm just going to take none of the above and go Macklin. I'm going to go with the young kid. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He's going to basically be playing in all the big situations. He's going to be I don't know who he's going to be playing with. If it's going to be Toffoli, if they're going to pair him with Will Smith or not. But I also just really want to watch this kid play. I enjoyed him playing the few times I got to see him at BC, BU, BU.
He
Sorry,
was in, yeah.
BU, and then the very not dull performance of Team Canada, just underwhelming performance of Team Canada. He was the youngest guy there and the best player there on that team. So I think I'm just going to go with him because he's the one I'm kind of most interested in watching, maybe next to Michkov.
Yeah. Trav, who's your top rookie?
I got Lane Hudson in Montreal.
Hmm.
I'm pretty excited to watch this guy. I know lots of people were kind of speaking up about him when he was in the juniors at the World Juniors there, and so last year at the World Junior was the first time I really got to kind of sit down and get a sense of like for the game that he plays, and what a phenomenal skater. Montreal's pretty fortunate to have him and Matheson both back there on the blue line, so I'm pretty excited to watch them dance around all year, and I think he's gonna take off this year. I do think Michkov is going to be nipping at his heels, though. I'm pretty excited to see what he does in Philly, but I do think just as a defenseman, that's going to put him over the top. He's going to collect. He might not finish with the most amount of points, but he's going to collect, I think, enough to be like, well, this guy's a defenseman, and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's my caller favorite this year.
Yeah. I think that it's such a good year for rookies with so many guys in. You guys have both mentioned my pick. I'm going Michkov in Philly. He's the exact opposite player of a Torts player. And for some reason, that's just going to mix well, I think, because of Michkov's Russian factor and how they just don't care. So, and it's not that he's not going to care about the game. It's more he's just not going to care about what Torts has to say to him. And I think he just does his thing and puts up an unreal rookie season. So, final element here, boys, before we wrap up. Metro standings. It was kind of a shit division last year, so I'm guessing we could probably run through this pretty quick. Justin, what you got on your Metro?
I was going to let you go first since
Oh.
me and Trey took up a lot of the airtime on that one. So,
Yeah.
Thanks for that. All right, then I got the Rangers up front leading this division. We've kind of discussed them with the Shesterkin. They have Fox, their defense group. And like we said earlier on the show, it's kind of the last kick at the can for this core of Rangers players. So they're going to take the division. I got the Devils rebounding nicely, coming back into the second spot in the division. Just, again, Jack Hughes, Heischer, everyone taking a step. And Jacob Markstrom back there in the net, just stabilizing the goaltending for them. Carolina's going to fall down a little. I still like their team, but I'm still like just this core. You can see they don't have that game breaker there that can just put them over the edge of a New Jersey or a New York at this time. And since I went with 5 in the Atlantic, I got the Islanders just missing. They're going to be nipping at the between Buffalo and Carolina's heels. It's going to be close, but I don't think they'd mesh just enough. I mean, there's just not quite enough there on the island to really put them in there. And I just think the young group in Buffalo is going to outplay them for that final wild card spot. Pittsburgh, same thing as last year. It's going to come down and just they're not going to get it done for Crosby. Though I have a feeling they're going to get better lottery luck this year and they're actually going to have a first round pick. Because I think they traded away for Carlson last year, which ended up in Sam Dickinson for San Jose. So that's a kind of tough look, but I got Washington right behind them. This one, I think you're just going to see them fall back to earth from what was just a almost stupid run last year to the playoffs for them. Like, I don't know how they even managed that. Philly is going to be nipping on Washington's heels. Again, Philly's not bad anymore, but I think last year was a little more of a torts mirage as opposed to what the team actually is capable of at this time. And we're just going to see them kind of stumble a little bit. But again, like all young teams, they're going to need this, and this is going to help them grow in the long run. And then unfortunately, Columbus just, I guess we could almost copy and paste what we said last year for Philly and put it in for Columbus here, really. Just between how their organization is ran and then just the off ice unfortunate event that we touched on last week that's happened with Johnny Gaudreau. I just don't think this team's going to be able to overcome anything this year, and they're going to be in the basement of the East.
Well, I'm going to be pretty quick because I had the exact same standing.
Holy fuck.
Exact same 1 through 8.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't even share these with each other before we do this. But when you're going, I'm like, oh, if he has the Caps after the Pens, we are the exact same. But yeah, so I don't really know. I can't really add too much onto that, which will kind of shorten this segment. But
yeah, no, it's hey, my defense, I didn't even write anything down. I literally came up with my standings on the spot here. Like, I had a vague idea, but I came up with them on the spot.
Yeah, like that. My Atlantic has a bunch crossed out. This one I had them written down just kind of as that, but don't really have much to add to that. Really, there's really no change. So I'm just interested to see the Hurricanes because
yeah,
they kind of had a lackluster off season. So it's interesting to see if any young guys kind of step up and make their squad and help chip in offensively. But other than that, I have not much to argue or add to that. So I guess you're up.
Right. Trav, making this segment a little different or no?
A little bit. Yeah, I don't have it quite matched up. I was wondering though, like when you were talking there, Brock, I seen Justin had this like shit-eating grin on his face, and I was like, oh, he's got something to say here. And I was wondering where it was going, but that's funny that you guys had matching standards.
Like,
but
what are the chances the exact same?
Yeah, this is like the one area where we're not all on the same page generally, but
yeah.
So I'll go 3 for 3 here, though. I got the Rangers at the top of the Metro. I think that's a pretty obvious one. I just don't see anybody else in that division that's on par with them right now. Number 2, I got the Canes. I mean, the Devils are the only one I think that could maybe finish above them. I don't think anybody else in the division has enough to finish ahead of the Canes, but I do think the Canes are a bit of a shell of what they have been the last couple of years. I think they do take a step back this year, but they're still good enough to get into the playoffs. Number 3, I got the Devils. Bounce back year, and I think everybody's expecting this too. Just with the moves they made in the offseason, the disappointing year last year. I think everybody's plugging them into their playoffs this year, or it seems that way anyways, and myself included. So number 4, and my second wild card team, I got the Flyers getting in this year. I really like a lot of the pieces on that team. Just Torts has really found, or kind of, I think, helped a lot of these guys find their identities, and I think they're just going to continue to grow those identities. Guys like Owen Tippett and Tyson Forrester, Joel Farabee, Travis Sanheim had a great year last year. I think he has another great one this year. So I'm pretty excited to see what this team puts together this year. I think they get into the playoffs, and it's going to be a fight, but I don't think they fall short this year like they did last year. Number 5, I got the Caps. I think they're gonna itch and scratch for a wild card spot, but I don't think they get in this year. I do kind of like some of the offseason moves they made, but they shouldn't have been there last year. I mean, I said it once, I'll say it again. That was the worst team I've ever seen make the playoffs. Number 6, I got the Islanders. I don't like, other than the Anthony Duclair signing, they had a boring off season, and I just don't expect much this year. I think Patrick Waugh kind of finds himself in a similar situation with the Avs, where he has success in the first year and reality maybe sets in a little bit this year. Number 7, I got the Penguins. The only difference between this year and the last 2 years is they're not fighting down to the wire for a wild card spot. I think they fall out of the race after Christmas here. Yeah, they don't have it right now. Unfortunately, the remaining years of Crosby on that team, I still think Crosby's going to have another fantastic year because it's Crosby. And finally, rounding it out at the bottom, 3 for 3, I got the Jackets. Like you said, Brock, they're probably the basement of the East this year, and I don't really have much more than that. So,
yeah, that's fair. So that'll wrap this week's episode. Ran a little long, but that's all right. Everyone can now make fun and roast us for our Eastern Conference predictions and a lot of the trophy predictions we just made. But we'll be back next week, everyone, to round out our prediction segment with President's Trophy winner, along with the Western Conference standings. And just we've spent the first 2 episodes here touching a lot more on Eastern Conference teams. We'll give the West some love here and focus on what's been happening early on throughout preseason out on the West Coast and all those teams. So make sure to tune in next week to Snappin ER Around. Subscribe to your favorite podcast. Give this YouTube video a like if you're watching on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Everything helps out. And as always, we are part of the THPN network now, and big presentation presented by DraftKings and BetterHelp. Use code THPN for some nice offers and bonuses to those 2 amazing sponsors there. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and catch you all next week.